Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, we are back with another video, and in today's episode, guys, chapter 7, Genesis 7, let's get it. So the great flood. Then the Lord said to Noah, quote, "Go into the ark, you and all your household, for I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation." Because remember, keep in mind, this is a time when the world was very wicked, it was very evil. The sons of God, the fallen angels, corrupted the world, and on top of man being corrupt as well. So we needed a great reset. We needed the flood, according to God. So take with you 7 pairs of all clean animals, the male and his mate, and a pair of the animals that are not clean, the male and his mate. And 7 pairs of the birds of the air also, male and female, to keep their kind alive upon the face of all the earth. For in 7 days I will send rain upon the face of the earth, 40 days and 40 nights. And every living thing that I have made I will blot out from the face of the ground. And Noah did all that the Lord had commanded. So the Lord is adamant. This is what's going to be done. It's going to have to be done. There's no other way. I need to, as he said, I will blot out. Oh, it says, and every living thing that I have made I will blot out from the face of the ground. Well, there's one thing before we go on to the next paragraph, or verse 6. It says, take with you 7 pairs of all clean animals, the male and his mate. So clean. So God is differentiating between a clean animal and a non-clean animal. And so I looked into this a little bit, did some research, and essentially, if you go to Leviticus 11 and Deuteronomy 14, let me back up this real quick so you can see it all. Yeah, so in Leviticus 11, Deuteronomy 14, it talks about the difference between a clean animal and a non-clean animal. So at the time of Noah, there was clean and unclean. In our time, it's important to know that there is no such thing as that anymore. But at the time, there was a difference between clean and unclean. So it says, so essentially what a clean animal is whatever parts the hoof and is cloven-footed and shoes cut. So pretty much mean whenever the animal, its foot is cloven-footed, when it's separated by 2 distinct different, it's like a cut, if you look at it like as a cow's foot, right? Or what's another animal? Like even like a camel's foot, but it also chews cut. So that means that it regurgitates its food from its stomach back, and it can eat it again. So that was what God said was a clean animal. And if you look up, just to look it up if you want to, Leviticus 11 and Deuteronomy 14, it just tells you that. So I'm just giving you the definition. And it says, now that's for the animals on the land. So you have to have 2 things to be clean if you're a land animal. One, you have to, whatever parts the hoof and is cloven-footed, so 2 separate, distinct, different, you can look at it as like your paw, it's cut in, you have 2 slices, it's like a slice, and shoes cut, so it has to regurgitate its food back up to its mouth and it can chew it again. And that's for the land animals. Now for the sea animals, it says everything that has fins and scales in the sea and the rivers. When we talk about the birds, it didn't give specific, like for example, fish. Okay, a clean fish is the one that has fins and scales. So like a catfish wouldn't be considered a clean fish. A shark wouldn't be considered a clean fish. But when it came to the birds, it didn't give something like that exact. It just listed out clean birds and unclean birds. But for insects, it did, right? So it says among the winged insects that go on all fours, you may eat those which have legs above their feet, from which to leap the earth. So some examples of what a clean and unclean animal is, like for example, clean would be a cow, right? A deer, bison, turkey. Unclean would be like a pig, horse, dog, a shark, right? Because a shark has fins, but it doesn't have scales. A catfish would be unclean. So pretty interesting. But that's important, right? Because it says, take with you 7 pairs of all clean animals. So it wants 7 pairs of all clean animals. So for example, we have a cow, right? You're going to have 7 pairs, a male and a female of a cow. But when it comes to the unclean, you just give them one pair, right? So for a pig, there was only one male and one female on the entire boat. Noah's Ark, there was only a male and a female pig. But for a cow, or like a deer or a bison or a turkey, there was 7 pairs. And I know, you know, some I've read when I was reading articles about, you know, what clean and unclean is, because God wanted to. They do human sacrificing, pretty much, and we can get into that later. Like I'll read a little bit ahead, and Noah sacrifices some animals. He makes a altar and he sacrifices some animals. So that's the reason why he added more clean animals. One, to be able to repopulate them more, because they're clean, but on top of that, they do sacrifices. They do human sacrificing for God with those clean animals. So, hey, now you know what clean and unclean was in the Old Testament. Now there's no such thing as clean and unclean for us now. But back then, you know, there was. All right, so let's continue. So Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters came upon the earth. And Noah and his sons, so it's, remember, it's Noah. Within Noah's first 500 years, he had his sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And then Noah was 600 years when the flood of waters came upon the earth. And Noah and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives went with him in the ark to escape the waters of the flood. Of clean animals and of animals that are not clean, and of birds and of everything that creeps on the ground, 2 and 2, male and female, went into the ark with Noah, as God has commanded Noah. And after 7 days, the waters of the flood came upon the earth. So remember, God commanded Noah because he was a righteous man in a time when the world was very wicked and evil. He walked with God, and he was the one who ultimately saved humanity. It repopulates with Noah after the flood, and right. So, so it says, in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, and on the 17th day of the month, on that day all the fountains of the great deep burst forth, and the windows of the heavens were opened, and rain fell upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. So, you know, I just think of it as just like a humongous entire storm, all covered all around the world, and just it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. And on the very same day, Noah and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and Noah's wives, and the 3 wives of his sons with them entered the ark. They and every beast according to its kind, and all the cattle according to their kinds, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth according to its kind, and every bird according to its kind, every bird of every sort. They went into the ark with Noah, 2 and 2 of all flesh, in which there was the breath of life. And they that entered, male and female of all flesh, went in as God had commanded him, and the Lord shut him in. The flood continued 40 days upon the earth, and the waters increased, and bore up the ark, and it rose high above the earth. The waters prevailed and increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark floated on the face of the waters, and the waters prevailed so mightily upon the earth, that all the high mountains, all the mountains on the world, under the whole heavens were covered. The waters prevailed above the mountains, and they covered them with 15 cubits deep. And all flesh died that moved upon the earth, birds, cattle, beasts, all swarming creatures that swim upon the earth, and every man. Everything on the dry land and whose nostrils was the breath of life died. He blotted out every living thing that was upon the face of the ground, man and animals, and creeping things and birds of the air. They were blotted out from the earth. Only Noah was left, and those that were with him in the ark, and the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. So that's it for chapter 7. That's pretty much it. Come back for Genesis 8, and we'll see what happens after the flood. Peace.